Here we go then. Welcome along to Formula One in 2015 and the first Grand Prix of the season. We are set fair in Australia for the opening round of a 20-race World Championship. We begin down under. We wind our way through Asia and the Middle East to the European parts of the season onwards, to Canada, back to Europe again before finishing in America and Brazil and Abu Dhabi for the final race where double points won't be featuring this year. We start at this 3.3-mile circuit, an average lap speed of about 121 miles an hour for the winning driver around the 16 turns, 6 left and 10 right, and a very high chance of an escapade with the concrete barriers. 6 of the last 8 Australian Grand Prix here have featured at least one safety car. 2 DRS zones to help overtaking. It is a beautiful, gorgeous day here in South Australia in the state of Victoria, and we are ready for a season that Martin Brundle in the last half an hour has already seen as many retirees as a Mitchell Johnson opening spell at the MCG.
Aye. And, well, you know, you only need 2 cars to make a great race. We saw that in Bahrain last year. Remember, 2005 Indianapolis, just 6 cars on the grid, and we still had a good race between the 2 Ferraris. But it's going to look a bit thin down into turn 1. Please be careful out there, because we can't afford to lose any cars. And we've often seen big shunt that's a long way down to that first corner, and it's a pretty high-speed arrival as well with cold brakes and cold front tyres. You've lit the rears up and warmed those up quite well, but they do need to be careful in there. Let's see what happens. That we should see effectively three races in one here, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
With Mercedes out front, then Williams and Ferrari, and then the best of the rest after that.
And there we are, Mercedes 1 and 2, their 9th front row lockout in a row. Sebastian Vettel equals Ferrari's best qualifying from last year on his Ferrari debut alongside Felipe Massa with his best start ever in Australia. It's Kimi Raikkonen now and Daniel Ricciardo alongside each other on the 3rd row because Valtteri Bottas retired with a back injury. Carlos Sainz on his debut just ahead of Romain Grosjean in the Lotus. Lotus getting 2 cars into Q3 for the first time since Abu Dhabi in 2013. Maldonado has Felipe Nasser on his debut alongside him. Max Verstappen, another debutant, has Daniel Kvyat, who was racing, of course, for Toro Rosso to partner him. Nico Hülkenberg beat Sergio Perez by 1/1000th of a second in qualifying. The Force Indias line up alongside each other, and then it's Marcus Ericsson just ahead of Jenson Button, with McLaren boss Ron Dennis saying we're treating this as a testing day today. Well, it's testing times already because Kevin Magnussen won't be racing because, of course, his engine blew in spectacular fashion on the way to the grid. Kvyat as well, sorry, not racing today because of his gearbox problems. Couldn't select 5th gear, lost complete drive. It means we have, Martin, 15 cars to start this Australian Grand Prix. If you take Indy out of the equation, because allegedly they all started that race even though they didn't get away all from the lights, it's the lowest, isn't it, since what, San Marino, 12 starters in 1982.
Yeah, and it was in the 60s when we had regularly these kind of numbers of, on the grid. And, well, let's see what we can make of it. But we could see the incredible situation, providing it keeps going, the one remaining McLaren Honda, that they're going to be lapped within 25.
And look,
yeah,
they've come together on the grid. Give me your jacket, your keys, and your motorcycle. Is that what's going on there? Toto Wolff and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I'll be back. No, I'll be back. No, I'll be back.
Ted, you're always coming back.
Oh, 2 Austrians together, great to see. Just quickly on strategy, the Mercedes could do whatever the strategy they want and still win the race, but for everyone else, a 1-stop is the way to go according to the computer. It's 5 seconds quicker and the tyre life will allow it, but it is fraught with risk about safety cars and crashes. So they're going to try to do 1-stop, but a lot of people will probably end up doing 2 stops.
And if we have 3 races here, the 2 Mercedes out in front racing each other, those behind Williams and Ferrari having their little race, what happens with this Sebastian Vettel, Kimi Raikkonen, Felipe Massa battle, I wonder, because they're very closely matched and strategy could come into play.
Absolutely, and one of these new virtual safety cars, if you pit under a green flag, effectively under normal racing speed, and then there's a virtual safety car on the next lap, then that's for Rob Walker. I will miss you, Bernie Ecclestone. That's yeah, you could find yourself losing 10 or 15 seconds to the pack. So we'll see how that And Charlie Whiting says, I'll use that if ever there would normally be a double waved yellow flag. So that obviously was Vettel getting away quite slowly.
So looking at reviewing the blow up, the oil is online through 3, online through 4 and into 5, and then it's on the right hand side from 5 onwards.
Obviously something laid down when Kevin Magnussen's Honda engine went kaput.
Pistons met valves, I think. I think Jackie Stewart hit that one on the head. But yeah, so a bit of oil on the track, a few leaves as well.
Soft tyres for the top 10, because that's what they qualified on with their best lap in Q2, so they start with those tyres. A change for Pastor Maldonado, possibly. No, medium tyres for Verstappen. Kvyat isn't starting, for Perez and for Ericsson as well. So it's interesting, Martin. Force India switching strategy on their drivers. One starts on the soft, one starts on the medium. They're kind of it's a free choice, isn't it? They can gamble without really taking a penalty, given their pace so far this weekend.
Yeah, and teams like Force India now realise this is a golden opportunity to steal some early points. They need to get to the end of this one and make sure they do take those. Beautiful view.
Not that you can see much, obviously, from the cockpit. It's just concrete all around, but the view looks spectacular for a packed house. For Claire Williams, just the one driver, Valtteri Bottas, in a two-part test that the FIA introduced to make sure a driver is fit to race. Injured his back, passed one of the extraction tests and not the other, Martin, so the decision really not Williams to make.
There's two. You've got to get out of the car in a prescribed time. And often teams fudge that, and you get a special seat to pass that sort of test. And the other thing you've got to do is pull your knees back past the bulkhead where the steering wheel is. And I suspect that, with a bad back, could well have been the one that he found very difficult, but also getting out would have been tough as well. But he passed one of those and not the other, but they're the two main tests.
So we've lost Kevin Magnussen, we've lost Danny Kvyat, and we've lost Valtteri Bottas, and the manor pairing of Roberto Merri and Will Stevens never made it out of the garage in their car for the whole weekend, and the FIA, I'm sure, wanting answers from the team as to whether they'll be able to go a little bit better and get the car running in Malaysia in 2 weeks' time. But what we do have at the front of the grid is the defending champion, Lewis Hamilton, his 4th pole here in Melbourne, a new record for Albert Park, starting ahead of his teammate Nico Rosberg. A comprehensive victory for Hamilton in qualifying yesterday, but you don't get points on a Saturday. It's when Sunday comes that the points are there for you.
There's Hamilton saying he felt the clutch was under-engaged on his practice start. I remember him saying that in Abu Dhabi. Actually, he'd had a bad practice start, but then he took off, didn't he, like a scolded cat in the race itself.
Didn't he just? Behind the two Mercedes pairing, Sebastian Vettel on debut behind Felipe Massa, who 3 times in the race here has never made it past the first corner, including last year as well. And we're almost set for racing in 2015. It's lights out, and away we go. Hamilton gets away. Nasser makes a good start past Grosjean and Maldonado, and into the first corner we go, with Lewis Hamilton leading from Nico Rosberg, from Felipe Massa. The Ferraris get close, and that's Kimi Raikkonen tapped from behind by the Toro Rosso and going off into the barrier already is the Lotus of Pastor Maldonado. We carry on. Are we going to get a safety car? Is it a virtual safety car? It's a virtually decent start for Lewis Hamilton, that is for sure. Behind him, Martin, is where the carnage happened.
Yeah, and it was the two Ferraris tripping over each other. The safety car is indeed out. Unsurprising that they're still trying not to hit each other back there as they get caught out by the slowing cars in front of them. But utter silliness going on down there in turn 1. All the things we talked about, what they shouldn't be doing down there, but it looked to me as if Raikkonen suffered some damage. He then collected another car for good measure, didn't he?
I think Felipe Nasser might just have hit Kimi Raikkonen, and Pastor Maldonado might then have become quite an innocent victim in the chain reaction. Look at the rear left tyre. That looked like it had a puncture to me, Martin, and was deflated. Whether that's because it hit the wall or it was punctured before, I don't know as yet, but just look at the tyre.
Unbelievable amount of damage for a relatively small accident. But when you start spinning them down the barriers like that, you do pluck the suspension off. The stays have done their job, the tethers, so no wheels flying through the air, thankfully. And especially, as always, with the crowd so close to the racetrack here in Albert Park. Raikkonen then is showing down in 8th place.
Yep, he got tucked in behind his teammate Sebastian Vettel, and then there was contact behind Raikkonen, and Felipe Nasser might have been the man who was making contact. He's officially up to 6th place. There he goes in the Sauber car, which didn't score a point, of course, that team in the entire 2014, but running in the top 6 at the moment behind the safety car here in Albert Park.
So they're going to fuel-saving mode immediately. This is a tough race on fuel, so this helps them start. If there's 4 or 5 laps of safety car, I think it'll take away any issues they'll have later on of needing to just manage the fuel situation. They're allowed 100 kilos of fuel for the Grand Prix distance, but I have to say, if the safety car had enough fuel to do this race, be in with a great chance of some World Championship points this afternoon.
So a pit stop for Marcus Ericsson, soft compound tyres going on, the faster of the tyres, but obviously not lasting as long as the medium compound, and the Lotus there.
Very slow
Grosjean. And I wonder if they're just checking things over and whether he got involved a little bit at the start. He got away quite slowly, Martin. I think are they retiring him from the race?
Oh, that's bad news for Lotus, isn't it? Then 2 out of the race on a day when they had a great opportunity to...
Well, last year it was 2 DNFs for that team because of problems with the power unit. It's 2 DNFs, it looks like, for Lotus today as well, although they have got the opportunity of getting the car back on the track again. But let's look at the start now.
A lot of cars very slow away. I think one of them was a Lotus. So there's the 2 Ferraris then touching. And then the Sauber squeezed in the middle, and that pushes into a bit of a tank slapper there for Maldonado, straight into the barriers. Here we go. And what happens is Vettel just touches the curb, and the car jumps, and he slides into his teammate. Raikkonen, you do get the feeling that whatever you do the wrong thing, and once the pack is coming at you faster than you can travel, Raikkonen could have stayed a bit more left and saved himself a second contact there.
And Felipe Nasser had nowhere to go?
No, there's nothing he could do about it. He's got himself pinned in the middle
and just
there.
Watch Nasser here, because we can see the Sauber, and I think there he makes contact with Maldonado and pushes him out towards the barrier, and might have caused him a puncture at the same time.
Yeah, so what's going to happen now? We've got Raikkonen on the outside. Vettel then brakes later than him. Just clips this inside curb look, jumps a half a metre across the track and connects with his teammate.
It's going to help relationships as they settle down as teammates. Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen, decent away from Jenson Button off the line. You could see the Lotus of Romain Grosjean going very slowly indeed.
Simply comes back down the outside. Perez there. Great view for Jenson of it all kicking off in front of him. But yeah, 3 cars very slow away. These are all the kind of dramas I expected last year with a new engine formula, and they were remarkably reliable. This year, it's just carnage.
Kevin Magnussen not starting after his engine blew up on the lap from the garage to the grid. So far, though, for Mercedes, no problems whatsoever. Hamilton and Rosberg, 1 and 2. Felipe Massa got away, avoiding all the trouble, and there is Valtteri Bottas watching from the Williams garage, and I'm sure so wishing that he was taking part in this race. Well, of course, had he been taking part, Martin, he'd have been right in the middle of the trouble with the Ferraris and Nasser. Safety cars coming in at the end of this lap.
Lovely kid Bottas, supremely fast racing driver. Really nice boy. It's always a pleasure to chat with him about anything, really, and especially Formula One. But unsurprisingly, looking pretty glum sitting there. And more worrying is that his disc problem happened just driving along without a specific incident.
Absolutely. Ted, a line on Romain Grosjean.
He felt cut in power. He asked the engineers what to do. They said try low gear with high revs, but that didn't work, and they told him to just trundle around as best he could and retire the car.
Mercedes engine, of course, they've moved to this year. They've got the best power unit in there, but it sounds like a control system has let them down.
It's hugely disappointing for Lotus there. I feel very sorry for the team who've had so much a better weekend 12 months on from from the disappointment of a double DNF in Australia in 2014.
All but 3 of these cars then are guaranteed some World Championship points this afternoon.
Well, which means if you're Jenson Button, you are concentrating now on just limping home to the finish however you can. And remember that the most that they've run this weekend in any continuous amount of time is 12 laps. If you can get to the end, who's to bet, Martin, we don't get 10 or less finishes here? We've still got a very long way to go, and the safety car's peeled in, and Lewis Hamilton really has got the jump on the rest of the field. Nico Rosberg is well ahead as well, but Felipe Massa might find himself under a little bit of pressure here because Sebastian Vettel is on his tail as they make their way down the straight. Behind them comes Carlos Sainz and Felipe Nasser, wheel to wheel. Nasser catches Sainz napping, and he picks up now another place and moves into 5th as they go into the 1st and 2nd turns. Well, Felipe Nasser, I thought, was an absolute star in qualifying yesterday, and he's done a very good job there to get past Carlos Sainz, who's losing even more place and is now racing with Kimi Räikkönen, who at turn 3 finds himself getting squeezed out a little bit, but he's now ahead of Max Verstappen in the Toro Rosso.
You can tell Nasser and Sainz are out of junior formula, single-seater racing. They dart all over the road.
Checo, you overtook Ericsson under the safety car. You must give the place back to Ericsson. I believe he's 2 car positions behind, but you must give the place back to Ericsson. You overtook him under the safety car.
See, there he is. Perez, Jenson Button in the middle, and then Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah,
they have to reach a line, don't they, Martin?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. So he's going to have to drop right to the back of the field. Not cheer him up a whole lot, is it?
Carlos Sainz is back ahead now of Felipe Nasser on this first proper lap of racing, and Felipe Massa, not to be confused with his Brazilian compatriot in the Sauber, still has Sebastian Vettel very much on his tail. Daniel Ricciardo right behind the Sauber of Nasser, and running at the moment in 7th place. Behind Ricciardo comes Kimi Räikkönen, Max Verstappen and Nico Hülkenberg completing the top 10, and Magnussen, Kvyat and Maldonado and Grosjean already out of this race. 2 of them didn't start it.
Well, Hamilton caught Rosberg out. Rosberg was asleep on the restart, and he looked like he was asleep on the first lap as well. 1.2 seconds slower than the reigning world champion. So Nico then waiting, taking a little bit of time to get his tyres back up to temperature and his confidence high. Meanwhile, Nasser doing a great job there, isn't he? The youngsters are generally doing a great job.
Here's the restart. Watch the light blue Sauber. That was fairly convincing and easily completed before he got into turn 1.
Yeah, they won't have DRS on the restart. That doesn't come in until 2 laps in, does it? After a safety car. Yeah, and Sainz really struggling for pace there down the pit straight. So whether he's lost some battery power, but this was him losing another position.
Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo getting past him and moving up into 6th. Sainz now obviously down into 7th, and Ricciardo setting about going after Felipe Nasser, who I would imagine, Martin, had huge dreams throughout the winter period, none of which would have involved running in the top 5 in Albert Park in the first race.
And of course they didn't run at all, did they, on Friday morning, while the court case was going on, while we're trying to work out which drivers had the right to drive the car. Guido van der Garde trying very hard to get himself back in it.
A case that has been resolved legally, but still hasn't been resolved between the interested parties. Watch this space for Malaysia. Hamilton finishes the 5th lap and is 2.5 seconds clear of his teammate. The only man lapping in the 132s, Lewis Hamilton. And that previous lap, we're on board now with the number 3 Red Bull driver, Daniel Ricciardo. 6th place at the moment, behind Felipe Nasser, but not separated by much. And he's got DRS to help him now. The drag reduction system is enabled. So we've had 2 laps since the safety car peeled in.
Sainz's pace is okay now, so it seems as if on the restart he just either wasn't pressing it or he didn't have the battery pack working for him.
One of 3 rookies in this race, and there's an awful lot to contend with, even if you are the current Formula Renault 3.5 champion, as it, of course Carlos Sainz is. And Felipe Nasser now finding himself under just a little bit more pressure, increasing pressure from Daniel Ricciardo.
Ricciardo's such a good racer. He's got a way of, he slides the car around more than others actually, but he carries speed while he's doing it. But the good news in all of that was that Vettel clearly hasn't suffered any damage in that first corner contact with his teammate. So the Massa-Vettel battle is looking pretty good, actually, and hopefully setting in for the afternoon.
And this is now a four-way battle between Nasser, Ricciardo, Sainz and Raikkonen, who's right at the tail of it.
Well, of course, Vettel and Raikkonen are good friends. They played badminton together, and Vettel was asked, you know, is that going to be a problem, do you think? Do you think that your friendship is threatened? He went, nah, we know each other well, and we're big enough to talk to each other about it as well. Well, I've got a feeling Kimi Raikkonen will want to talk about that first corner.
Yeah, what did you do to me? I know you're trying to make an impression on your debut, but you really have cost me a bit there. And it might, see how this race evolves out, but both Raikkonen and Vettel would have been pretty convinced that they could compete with Felipe Massa to take the final podium spot, because it's looking the way at the moment that unless Mercedes get reliability issues, they're going to take the 1-2. In terms of the two front runners, Nico Rosberg's just set a new fastest lap and is starting to close in a little bit on his teammate Lewis Hamilton, just by the odd 10th, and the gap still over 2 seconds as Sergio Perez. Was that a visor tear, or what was he trying to get away from him? Either way, Martin, it rather put him off going into that third turn.
Yeah, I think it was a rip-off from his visor, wasn't it? But he was already at the back of the field, so he's just a little bit further back now.
And he's given the place back to Marcus Ericsson. So we've got 13 runners and riders still going here as we watch from the rear of Kimi Raikkonen's Ferrari, Max Verstappen just behind him, because this is what happened a few moments ago. A very late change of direction for Kimi Raikkonen to make the pass there on Max Verstappen before the corner came around. Good move by Raikkonen, good reactions too.
Pretty brave in there as well, actually. There's a nasty bump on the way in to turn 9.
Catching the Mercedes out in practice yesterday morning, wasn't it?
Wasn't it Sainz he's just gone past?
Sorry, you're all right.
Yeah, so I think Sainz continues to have power issues, because you wouldn't normally expect to be mugged between turns 8 and 9.
No. There is Verstappen behind Raikkonen. Sainz behind Raikkonen, and Verstappen is just about 2 seconds off on that one. Ted, down to you.
A lot of fuel saving going on in this period of the Grand Prix. Nico Rosberg's had a message from his engineers saying there's good fuel saving, and Jenson Button's also had a message saying that's enough fuel saving for now. But let's watch out for Max Verstappen, shall we? Because he's the top man with the medium tyre on at the moment, is he not, David? I don't think anyone in front of him's got the medium tyre on.
Yeah, he has got the medium tyre on, yes.
He has, yeah. I don't think anyone in front of him has got the medium tyre as well. So he's the top medium tyre runner at the moment.
Daniel, how is the balance? Quite a bit of understeer in the high speed. Been a little bit nervous on the entries of low, medium.
So we're looking for around sort of lap 25, 27 for the first guys on the soft tyres to come in, the pit stop window to open.
Yes. I just wonder as well if Ferrari were thinking of mixing up their strategy a bit, and that might have to take a little back seat now that Vettel and Raikkonen are not running quite so close together, and Sebastian Vettel really getting all out of shape going through turn 4 through the car park and using a bit too much curb and losing touch a little bit to Felipe Massa, the car in front of him.
Vettel's got 299 kilometers per hour down the straights. That's a full 10-12 more than Massa in front of him. He's got DRS to help him. We know the Ferrari's been quick in a straight line too, but it's not enough to get him up and behind and past, because he's not close enough in the corners, and it looks like the Ferrari really struggling in the turbulent air of the Williams.
The Williams at the moment lapping 1:33.5 Felipe Massa for his last lap, but losing 9/10 on that last lap to Nico Rosberg, the Mercedes in front of him. Two Silver Arrows very much in a race of their own at the moment, which Hamilton still maintains that 2-second advantage over his teammate.
And this is why Mercedes need to let their drivers race for our entertainment, and need to let them race even harder than last year. And also, otherwise, they simply won't get any TV coverage out front.
We're not seeing them at the moment because the close battles are going on behind. Into turn 11 and 12 we go, on board with Kimi Raikkonen now, and accelerating, going up through the gears to 190 miles an hour before he jams on the brakes into turn 13. And you can see the rear end of the Red Bull of Daniel Ricciardo getting closer and closer to Kimi Raikkonen in the Ferrari as now into the penultimate corner we go. Slowest corner on this 3.3-mile circuit.
And when you see the red light flashing on the rear of that Red Bull, he's in harvest mode. That's to warn the driver behind that he's not touching the brakes, but the car might slow down a little bit as it's charging its batteries. It hasn't proven to have been a problem at all, something they were concerned about, but it just hasn't been an issue.
Felipe Nasser will be at 7 seconds behind Sebastian Vettel, still holding on quite comfortably to P5, but I just wonder if Kimi Räikkönen can free himself and get past Daniel Ricciardo. That Ferrari should have the speed to put Nasser under a little bit more pressure, because at the moment Ricciardo, I should say, is just lapping round about the same pace as the Sauber, and seemingly holding Räikkönen up a touch.
Trying to see which bits. We certainly saw some carbon come off between the two Ferraris. But I can't see anything too drastic. I suspect he's lost a little bit of front downforce with that contact.
I think he's definitely been held up in this, though. And you look at the difference between his teammates' time and his. It's over a second a lap that he's losing out at the moment.
Rosberg now only 1.6 seconds behind Hamilton.
Just put in a lap that's 0.6 faster than his teammates. For whatever reason, is Hamilton now doing a little bit of fuel saving? Is Rosberg getting more out of his tyres as he nursed them a little bit in the opening stages of this stint? And there are the two Mercedes going through the first corner. The gap is down to 1.2 seconds. Rosberg has taken another 0.4 out of Hamilton's lead on the 10th lap of 58 here in Albert Park. Behind them, Massa and Vettel go through the line, and then Felipe Nasser, Ricciardo, Räikkönen and Sainz then follow Verstappen and Hülkenberg completing the top 10. And those still running outside of the points, Ericsson and Button and Sergio Perez, who doesn't seem to be making much of an impression on Jenson Button in the Honda at the moment. What issues he's taken 0.8 out of him on that last lap, but before then, the last couple of laps, he hasn't really been gaining too much. Certainly, Räikkönen is now gaining more on Daniel Ricciardo, and I wonder, where can he find room, where can he find an opportunity to try and get past on this circuit?
Stellar job Nasser's doing there for Sauber. 2 charges behind him in some good motor cars, and he's very much keeping it neat and tidy.
It's a Sauber car that got bags of running in winter testing. Suspicion was always that they were running a little bit lighter, so did that disguise their pace a bit, but it has to be said, Martin, this is a marked difference to the Sauber we saw this time last year.
Well, they've benefited from the new Ferrari engine, is clearly a big step forward, isn't it?
The brake-by-wire issues seem to have been fixed a little bit as well. And what's that? 3 car lengths, 2.5 car lengths between Red Bull and Ferrari.
The drivability issues that Daniel Ricciardo is talking about are off throttle. Sometimes they lift off and the car keeps surging forwards. That becomes more of an issue as your tyres get worn, when you just can't lean on the raw mechanical grip of the tyre.
Tyres, Felipe, how are the tyres? They look okay. Copy, keep pushing, pace is good.
Pace is outstanding, I'm sure, from a Sauber perspective. Early stages, Martin, if they can hang on to something like a top 7 finish here, that's a massive amount of points for Sauber to bring home in the first race. Räikkönen gets closer still, under braking to that Red Bull. He just doesn't seem to have, Martin, the straight line speed, even though that they have been quick in a straight line to get past the Australian.
The trouble here is coming off that last corner close behind somebody else is pretty difficult, to say the least. It's a difficult corner by yourself. So he's not really, probably down into turn 3 is going to be his best chance.
And Sergio Perez, slowly but surely now, starting to gain on Jenson Button.
His old teammate. They are fighting over last place.
I wonder how much of a fight Jenson Button is able to put up, though, in a Honda engine's car where the power has been turned down to what, 35, 40% of what it's capable of?
We were so excited, weren't we, that Jenson kept his McLaren seat, but I wonder how excited he's feeling about it right now. But they say they know they've got a mountain to climb. They say they know what they've got to do and how they can do it.
There goes Perez, and wheel to wheel going through turn 11 and 12. And Jenson Button fights very hard indeed and uses a huge amount of experience and racecraft to keep ahead of Sergio Perez. It might not be for long as down in towards turn 13 we go. Button on the inside line does manage to stay ahead of his former teammate. And this is super defensive driving. How many times did we say it last year? And Fernando Alonso seems to be the man behind Button.
Lovely job, Jensen. Keep making life difficult for him.
Well, he's certainly doing that, but can Button hold off Sergio Perez down this long main straight? And he seems to have got the better of the two cars, exiting the final corner. And as they go into turn one, Button's still ahead, but he's still running 12th, of course, Perez 13th.
Jensen's not going to give up that chance of some pleasure and entertainment for the weekend. He's going to make the most of this. There's not much else for him to get excited about.
Ted, very quickly down to you.
They must have turned the wick up on that Honda a bit. There's no way that's 150 horsepower down from the Mercedes, is it? Perez would have passed him on the straight. Button complaining of under rotation, under braking.
Well, put it this way, though. Yes, it's a Mercedes engine in that Force India, but they had their testing woes and only got, what, 15 laps, I think, less than McLaren in the new car during the whole of the testing season. So they're still pretty much learning as they go on. As we switch now to Ricciardo and Raikkonen with NASA just ahead.
Under rotation is a fancy way of saying his brakes are locking, his front tyres are locking.
On board with Kimi Raikkonen. Big lock-up from NASA and also from Ricciardo as well.
A lot of under rotation there.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of smoke as well. Still smoking as it made its way past the apex. So we complete lap 13 of this Australian Grand Prix. And you can almost sense the frustration coming from Kimi Raikkonen as he, lap by lap, tries to pass a Daniel Ricciardo who's stubbornly refusing to budge and getting the advantage in a defensive term of the DRS, Martin, because he's so close to Felipe Nasser.
Yeah, I think he'd be like a cork in a bottle if Raikkonen can get through and past Ricciardo. I think he'll pretty quickly be on the back of the Sauber. Daniel Ricciardo goes so wide in turn 7. I wouldn't want to be out there. It's clearly where he likes to be or where his car takes him.
Oh, big spin, and it's Sergio Perez down at turn 3. There's a bit of debris right in the middle of the track there. And where has that come from? The front of Perez front wing or the rear of Jenson Button's Honda? And were they going just a little bit too close to each other going through that turn once again? It's Perez that comes off worse, though.
They're all looking so rusty, aren't they? They're so clumsy out there today.
Oh, I want to see that move again. Was it a desperate move from Sergio Perez? Quite a few times in their career, even as teammates, they got a little bit too close for Jenson Button's liking. Monaco, where I think he had some major complaints.
Checo, do you have any damage? Do you have any damage?
No, I don't think so.
Somebody has, somewhere.
Well, you don't see a lot sitting inside there. You see nothing. Top of your front tyres is all you see. Well, I think Jenson should have given him a little more room. I don't think he realised he was there.
He came late, didn't he?
Yeah, he's got some damage to his floor, obviously. And, yeah.
Quite a bit of damage, I'd have thought there, Martin.
Looks like some polystyrene, so what's he done? Has he gone across...
Just
yeah.
Shaved a bit from the floor.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think Jenson saw him coming, actually, because Perez was entitled to...
Jensen, there are only 13 cars in this race. There could be points available for finish.
Yeah, Roger.
That's what I'm trying to defend, I think is the message there. But I mean, he kind of left the door open, didn't he, Martin, and then slammed it a bit too late.
Yeah, that's a sort of a call from the pit to go, like, don't do that again.
Well done, sir. The Marshal getting a big round of applause.
Yeah, Aussie Marshals, good guys. We've got people here from Silverstone, Abu Dhabi, Korea apparently, I think, Singapore. A lot of international marshals here too, supporting the Australians. We've seen a couple of brave things going on with the marshal, haven't we? They're pushing Ricciardo's car back into the pits. Being Ricciardo's car, I think they'd have lifted it and carried it if they had to.
We did wonder, was that not a good test case for the virtual safety car? But apparently there's an agreement in place that it's not used during practice sessions. Seemed like quite an obvious time to use it to both of us. Stood here yesterday. So out in front, normal service presumed if you're Lewis Hamilton and protecting your 2.5 second advantage. That's what he's got over Nico Rosberg at the moment. Felipe Massa is 8 seconds further back. Sebastian Vettel's lost touch a little bit with Massa, 1.5 seconds back to him in 4th. And then comes this battle, 11 seconds further down the road. Felipe Massa from Sauber ahead of Daniel Ricciardo, Kimi Raikkonen, Carlos Sainz, and then Max Verstappen and Nico Hülkenberg completing the top 10.
Actually, that line of Danny Ricks coming through 7 there made more sense when you watched it from Raikkonen's car. He could just release the car a little bit. He runs it wide. It's just kicking up the dust there from time to time. I think it helps improve his traction out of 6.
This is where Raikkonen will be looking to try and close down, but he's just not quite got enough straight, has he, before the braking zone to make a move on Ricciardo at the moment. Once or twice he's gained there because there's no DRS in that part of the track, so therefore Ricciardo's not getting the speed advantage. That's where he's coming into the pits, so I wonder if this means that Ferrari are thinking a two-stop strategy at this stage of the race might not be the best idea for Kimi Raikkonen. We can get another set of soft tyres on, maybe. We can, yeah, it is another set of soft tyres going on. So we'll take him out of that fight with Ricciardo.
Problem, Crofty.
Oh dear. And this is where the strategy call now has been completely eroded away. And I think whatever the Finnish word for damn and blast it is, Kimi Raikkonen is now shouting it from the cockpit. Ted, what could you see?
Yeah, I saw the front wing damage to the Cascade wings on the right-hand side. That was so Kimi is carrying a loss of downforce in that Ferrari. So one pit stop done, and take a long time about it too.
I thought it was like Kimi's like the Stig, isn't he? I didn't think he talked.
In words of one syllable.
Yes.
Occasionally.
Yeah, actually, I'm being obviously very mischievous because Kimi's quite good fun when you're out and about. Not on the grid or when you're talking to him in the paddock.
Absolutely. Right, here goes the pit stop. Came off all right, but then whatever reason, it just wasn't clicking into place so they could get the nut tightened. That's so costly. They've taken the decision to take him out of that fight with Ricciardo, give him a bit of clear track space. Go on, Kimi, stretch your legs a little bit. We'll jump him in the pit stops. And now they've lost out another 8 seconds of their overall race time here. It's put Raikkonen back down the field. He's currently running in 11th place, just ahead of Jenson Button and Sergio Perez, the only two behind him. Out in front, 2.5 seconds the difference between Hamilton and Rosberg, who are at the moment just trading fastest laps, like they're trading photos from their winter holiday collection.
I think Rosberg's also traded a bit of tyre paint and rubber against the turn 11 wall on the way in. They do get incredibly close to that wall, and he's asking the team any sign of damage. They can look at the pushrod loads and check the cars he comes past. So this wall here on the right-hand side now, Rosberg's been down it.
He did lose about a second, about 3 laps ago on the lap itself. So I wonder if that was because he came to touch that wall at turn 11. Felipe Massa holding off Sebastian Vettel quite nicely at the moment as well. That gap has remained about 1.6 seconds for quite some time now. 2.5 seconds, the difference between the two Mercedes, who easily look capable of a one-stop race here, Martin, without any problems at all.
Yeah, Raikkonen all the way back to 11th place now.
Maurizio Arriva-Beni, the new team principal at Ferrari, wanted to know what happened at that pit stop.
Yeah, he's a bit of a baptism of fire, isn't it? His drivers ran into each other in the first corner, and then we just had a dodgy pit stop. His first one of the year, first one as team boss.
And they've all been out practicing their pit stops throughout the weekend here, the teams, and they will have been practicing obviously back at base, but nothing quite prepares you for the adrenaline rush of the first proper one of the season.
Taz has pulled away nicely, hasn't he? Or NASA, as we believe he's called. Has pulled away nicely now from Ricciardo, 3.4 seconds up the road.
Raikkonen now setting a new fastest lap of the race, obviously on those new tyres. We're riding on board with Marcus Ericsson. There's Nico Hülkenberg ahead of him.
Okay, tires still can still feel a little bit degradation on the front left, but it is still okay.
He's starting to come now into the window for a one-stop strategy, is Felipe Massa. So if they are going off a bit too much, then give it a couple of laps, he should be able to come in and make his pit stop. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, quite a few drivers reporting degradation on the front left. Ricardo as well, although Ricardo's saying, that's what I feel on the front left. I can't tell what's happening with the rears because the drivability is so bad. But we'll see what happens with Ferrari with the next pit stop. They want to understand what went wrong because they fancy their chances of racing for third. They fancy their chances of taking Massa in the pit stops for third, which will be an interesting one to watch. And as we approach lap 21, guys, that's crucial for Jenson Button, because if he does 22 laps, that's more laps than he's done in any single session so far this weekend. So that will be somewhat of a lap.
Yeah, and definitely more than testing as well. But we'll take the positives. I'm sure that he is still running. And only 2 places off the points, remember that as well. They stand by in the Sauber garage waiting for their men to come in. Marcus Ericsson has made a stop already, remember. Ericsson behind the safety car, pitted at the end of the first lap. Got rid of the medium compound tyre, Martin, that he started on. He's on softs right the way to the end.
Yeah. Sauber much faster along the straights, as if the Ferrari is more fuel efficient than the Renault. They're certainly stretching their legs to the Toro Rosso. Nazar out there, and same with Ricardo. So looking pretty good for Sauber.
Looking very good.
Yes.
Pretty good. Given the way their weekend or their week has started here in Melbourne, with as much of a nod and a glance towards the court case down in the town court, Mr. Justice Croft's words, this is now very much happy days. 2.5 seconds between Hamilton and Rosberg out in front. 1 and 2 for Mercedes, and a long way clear of Felipe Massa running third for Williams at the moment. Sebastian Vettel just getting within a tenth more of his Felipe Massa. And a long gap back to Nasser. And Ricardo, Sainz, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, who, as you can see, has now Marcus Ericsson very much for company, both on the soft compound tyre, which Hulkenberg started on, and Ericsson's are 1 lap less old, or 1 lap fresher. Max Verstappen, meanwhile, on those medium compound tyres, still running, and probably should be for a little while longer yet, as we ride on board now with Lewis Hamilton. Nice feeling, isn't it, Martin, to be out in front. This time last year, he walked back to the paddock, and the crack in the spark plug had forced him out of the race. So far, absolutely looking perfect for him today.
Ooh, commentator's curse there, I fear, but yeah, I enjoy being out in front in an F1 car. I did many times in sports cars and touring cars, but he looks as if he's got it. His confidence yesterday was just extraordinary. Everything he did, he was just in charge of that car, and he looks the same today as Felipe Massa, the one and only Williams.
So Williams does pit then. Felipe Massa coming in. Now this should be the medium compound tyres going on, and a one-stop race, which Williams believe is about 5.5 seconds faster than the 2-stop race, and there he goes. Fresh set of the medium tyre on, and Felipe Massa back then out into this race. And he comes out behind Daniel Ricciardo, ahead though of Carlos Sainz. So Massa, 6th place on the track.
3 seconds then. 3 seconds that stop from Williams. Pretty sweet.
Hamilton sets another fastest lap of the race as Hulkenberg now pits. Yeah, one-stop strategy, the way for Force India as well. Although they will be doing it in different ways, I think. They have different starting tyres on, Hulkenberg and Perez. He comes out, Hulkenberg ahead of Jenson Button in the background and his teammate.
Lotus can't score points today now, both cars are, and if Force India with both cars in don't score points, they're going to be desperately disappointed. This is a golden opportunity for those teams.
Well, I was talking to one gentleman down at Force India earlier this morning. He said, we'll probably celebrate more a point here today than we did our first ever point in Formula One, given the fact that they arrived at testing late, didn't get as much mileage in as they would have wanted, 365 laps, and have been so far behind on car build throughout the winter.
So Vettel then, a personal best he's just put in. He's trying to make up some ground while Massa's in the pits. Massa, presumably with those fresh tyres, should be mighty fast. It's a big task there for Vettel to do that. I imagine they'll pit him pretty quickly.
Yeah, Massa, the only one of the top 6 then that has made a stop so far. And the key here is that can Sebastian Vettel exploit the fact that Massa is going to be stuck behind the Red Bull for a little bit as well? Is that where Sebastian Vettel can make a gain or two?
Okay, Felipe, so Vettel has stayed out. Need to keep pushing and try to get past Ricciardo.
And that's borne out there with that radio message, Ted. He can't. I don't think he can afford at all to get stuck behind Daniel Ricciardo.
Really needs to get on with it, Massa, because Massa's gap to Vettel now is, the gap's 23 seconds. So if Vettel is more than 24 seconds ahead of Felipe Massa on the track, then Vettel will jump him in the stops.
Yeah, Vettel, of course, on the used soft compound. Massa on a new set of medium compound. They're 1.2 seconds slow when you compare new with new. But he's got some traffic, hasn't he?
Well, he has. And this is where he's got to try and get past Ricciardo here, Martin, on the run down towards turn 13. And he's lining up a move here, isn't he? You can just see the Williams now pulling out towards the inside. Tries to go down the inside as Felipe Massa, but he's just a little bit too far behind Daniel Ricciardo to really slide down the inside.
Daniel, box.
So that'll release Massa, but the trouble is when you do those half-hearted moves like that, you both lose time.
And Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari will now be well aware that Ricciardo, coming into the pits, has freed Felipe Massa. He's running in clean air, so do we expect Vettel to come in at the end of this lap? Because that advantage of Massa being stuck behind the Red Bull has now gone.
Interesting to see Vettel on the same pace as the leaders, on the same tyres.
Yeah.
Now he's in clear air in the 32s.
Maybe he'd just been nursing them a little bit. It wasn't the fact that he couldn't get past Felipe Massa. It was a bit of tyre preservation going on. Ricciardo with a 3.4 second stop.
Box, Sebastian, box.
And Sebastian Vettel will be coming in at the moment. He's making his way through that quick left and right at turn 11 and 12. Ricciardo back out onto the track in 10th place. Meanwhile, Marcus Ericsson has Kimi Räikkönen very much for company. And for not the first time this afternoon, Räikkönen will be trying to pass a stubborn Sauber.
With a customer Ferrari donkey in the back.
Okay, Felipe, Vettel struggling with his tyres now. We need to push now. We will be racing him at the exit this time. Qualifying now, push now.
And he has got to push. Felipe Massa is at turn 13. Sebastian Vettel is in the pits. And we'll see the Ferrari in a few moments, I'm sure, trundling at 60 kilometers an hour down the pit lane. Away he goes. Felipe Massa now coming to the final turn as Kimi Räikkönen manages to get past Marcus Ericsson and move himself up into 8th place. There's Sebastian Vettel. I tell you what, that's not close at all. The gamble by Ferrari to stay out has well and truly paid off here, and Sebastian Vettel has jumped Felipe Massa in the pit stops and has made up a place over the Williams. But that fight is not done and dusted yet, and it could go all the way now to the checkered flag. Carlos Sainz being held with a problem on the left rear in his pit stop. Oh dear. And they're looking now for another wheel gun. They're thinking, is that a problem with the wheel gun? Has one wheel just not come off yet?
Yeah, that
looks that way.
That's a used one, isn't it?
Oh, this is absolute tragedy on his debut for Carlos Sainz.
Incredibly hot sitting there as well.
And finally, they managed to get that stubborn left rear wheel off. And Carlos Sainz can get back onto the racetrack again as Lewis Hamilton, our race leader, will now come in for his pit stop. Leading the race ahead of his teammate, he gets first call on strategy. Rosberg takes over the lead of the race, but yet to stop. for what should be a one and only time for Hamilton. He's used soft and now medium compound. 3.3 second stop, seemed pretty okay.
His mechanics did a sterling job there for him, Lewis Hamilton, because he went way past his marks.
He's done that before.
Yeah, way past.
So, Sebastian Vettel still heads Felipe Massa. Now here's Felipe Nasser. I'm going to try and pronounce it nice and carefully so people can understand the difference. Swift change of tyres for him. He was running, of course, in the top 5 of this race. So where will he be? Behind Massa, obviously, but ahead of Verstappen. Remember, Verstappen hasn't stopped yet. And behind as well, Kimi Räikkönen.
Box.
And his teammate Marcus Ericsson as well. So Nasser comes out behind Marcus Ericsson. That early gamble, or that early call to bring Kimi Räikkönen in has now promoted him ahead of the Sauber of Nasser. So Rosberg, you heard the call to box, will be coming in as well. That should then see Lewis Hamilton very much back in the lead of this race. Slightly slower pit lane speed because it's a temporary circuit here at Albert Park, not 80 kilometres an hour, it's 60 kilometres an hour when you press the limiter. Hamilton now with just 2 corners to go to complete the lap as Rosberg stops. So it was a 3.3 Hamilton. 2.9 for Rosberg. That's the difference between hitting your marks or not, but Hamilton had a big enough advantage so that after the one and only pit stop, he still comes out ahead. And now it's the race to the checkered flag.
Yeah, come on, Nico, get on it, give it a race.
I'm sure he will want to do that. Rosberg chasing Hamilton now. Meanwhile, here's Kimi Räikkönen, who has Max Verstappen just ahead of him. Just checking, no, he hasn't pitted Verstappen. So these tyres, Martin, that he's trying to nurse here, 27 laps old, but I don't think he's got much of a defence, no defence whatsoever against Kimi Räikkönen on much fresher and faster soft compound tyres. Räikkönen then moves himself up a place and he's now back into the top 5 again.
Yeah, DRS as well, didn't he? So easy meet.
Meanwhile, Marcus Ericsson pitted behind the safety car on lap 1 after the accident that took out Pastor Maldonado. Roman Grosjean, his teammate, also out of this race. Well, Ericsson lasted 26 laps. And he's got another set of soft compound tyres on as he rejoins the race in 10th place. No, make that 13th place as Perez and Button. Button and Perez go through.
An update. You are racing Ricciardo behind, 3 seconds. He's going to the end, like you.
Once again, a message I'm sure he never expected when he thought about his Formula 1 debut throughout the winter months.
Good for him. Nice job, and Verstappen doing a great job. He's 17 years old, for goodness sake. Absolutely extraordinary.
17 years and 166 days. The youngest driver ever to race in Formula 1. Yeah. He drives like a man with about kind of 10 more years on that, doesn't he?
And he talks like a man that's got much more experience.
Yeah, he was absolutely furious with himself yesterday.
Starting to struggle with these tyres, guys.
Yeah, and he's got now Sergio Perez right behind him as Jenson Button. No, he was absolutely furious. Verstappen yesterday, little mistake in qualifying that rather cost him a place in Q3 on his debut. Is Perez going to try around the outside? He is, you know, but Jenson Button holds him off again. There's Marcus Ericsson right behind, waiting to take advantage. Button, you might not have thought he was going to be in a race this afternoon, or just poodling along. Actually is in a bit of a race and now can come in and make his pit stop. Sergio Perez is going to be under pressure from Ericsson down the main straight as Kimi Räikkönen sets another fastest lap of the race. It's the second time he set a fastest lap. There goes Ericsson, and into the turn 1 they go. Ericsson past Sergio Perez, just enough room and no contact made.
If you're wondering why Perez's DRS rear wing was open, that's because the trigger point is before turn 14, and at that point he was behind Jenson Button, so that's why they both had DRS, although he didn't appear to be behind anybody down the pit straight.
You might not need the advantage to pass someone, but you still get it anyway. This is what it looked like in Marcus Ericsson's Sauber. So even with the Force India having DRS, still pretty easy, wasn't it, for the Sauber to get past?
Fresh tyres off that last corner are
true, yeah.
pretty helpful. Look at Rosberg flying along now.
Well, he's just gone a couple of tenths quicker than Lewis Hamilton on his previous lap. 3.5 seconds the difference, though, between them.
1.2 on that lap. I don't know, where's Lewis?
Oh, sorry, yeah, no, you are right.
It's 1.2, isn't it? They've, I don't know if they've just passed the button. Might just have encountered Jenson Button a few corners ago. Ted, down to you.
A couple of things from down here. Can we give a little shout out to Nico Hulkenberg, who's in a point scoring position for Force India, the only one who is at the moment. So he's not doing too bad a race, is he? The Porsche Le Mans driver of this year. That man, Sebastian Vettel, has been kept up to date with the gap to the leaders from his Italian race engineer Riccardo Adami. And Jenson Button is absolute gold on the radio, Crofty. He was told by his engineer, OK, Jenson, it's now OK to start pushing the tyres. And Jenson said, I've been doing that since lap 1.
Oh, and how he would have wished on his Red Bull debut he could have got to lap 1. Danny Kvyat, who, if you haven't been with us from Lights Out here in Australia, was one of a few drivers that came to the track this morning hoping to race and didn't actually manage to do so. Kvyat out because of a gearbox problem with 5th gear on his lap from the garage to the grid. Kevin Magnussen out because his Honda engine rather just let go of itself in spectacular fashion and exploded all over the track on his lap from the garage to the grid. Valtteri Bottas out because of a back injury and he failed one part of the FIA extraction test.
And we have to look after these tyres a bit, Marcus. They have to go to the end, which is 30 laps. 30 laps.
He's on the soft tyre, remember, Marcus Ericsson, not the medium compound tyre that others in this race are running. Will have a pace advantage. But not the durability of the medium tyre. So others not racing, Roberto Merri and, of course, Will Stevens down at Manor, who haven't turned a wheel all weekend long. Others not racing, Pastor Maldonado, who went out at the second corner, tapped from behind by Felipe Nasser, after Kimi Raikkonen rather squeezed the Brazilian going through the first corner in an accident that was triggered by Raikkonen's teammate Sebastian Vettel, and also out Romain Grosjean as well, retiring from the race with a mechanical problem. Let's actually hear from one of the Lotus drivers, Pastor Maldonado. It's the 3rd time in 4 years he's not finished an Australian Grand Prix, but he's spoken to Rachel Brooks.
What a frustrating start. You became the victim of an incident to your left between Kimi and Felipe Nasser.
Yeah, actually, for sure, be disappointed for what happened. Anyway, we go back to the factory with a lot of data and knowing that we are quick. And looking forward for the next race. I think it's quite encouraging. The car, the package, we still need to improve. We can improve easily, so looking forward to do our best next one.
Roman had to retire his car. Did you have any problems on yours before the crash?
No, no problems. All was very promising for me. Thank you.
Disappointment then for Pastor Maldonado. Tell you what, Martin, Kimi Raikkonen still putting in some impressive times, isn't he?
He's on his two-stopper, isn't he, with a fresh set of...
Just one. He's 10 seconds behind Felipe Massa at the moment. Without that problem he had in his pit stop,
yeah.
I wonder if he'd have been there just to really pile on the pressure on the Williams driver. Rosberg too, continuing to go a little bit faster than his teammate Lewis Hamilton. Gap now down to 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, so the Kimsters two-stopping, of course. But several tweets coming in and Brundle F1. Why didn't Williams put a reserve driver? And you're not allowed to after qualifying. If they're not nominated before qualifying, you can't change your driver, unfortunately. That's why with Bottas having his back problem, it was too late. It was post-qualifying.
What do they do for Malaysia, though? I wonder if Bottas, Valtteri Bottas, we hope recovers. Do we see, if he doesn't recover, do we see Susie Wolff in the car? She's the reserve and test driver.
Alex Lynn as well.
Alex Lynn as well.
Yeah.
I'll be thinking back at home, I've got half a chance, but he's kind of more development driver, isn't he? Susie would take priority, I think, in the pecking order there.
more experience. Mrs. Toto Wolff as well. Mercedes might be quite pleased with that. Toto's a shareholder as well, isn't he? So lots of reasons why that might work, but it would be good to see Susan give her a chance in a Grand Prix.
Absolutely.
But I don't think Valtteri Bottas will be agreeing with that, and I would be surprised if he's not sorted out well before Malaysia.
Okay, Kimi, this is fantastic. The pace is very, very good. The race with Massa is still on.
Dave Greenwood, his race engineer, even on a two-stop, even with the time lost in the pit lane, they still think the race is on with Felipe Massa. Ted.
Yeah, go on, Kimi. Let's see what you can do. A quick one on Hamilton, the race leader. He lost nearly 2 seconds. I think 1.8 seconds, 1.9 seconds in a couple of laps. It looks like it was traffic. There hasn't been any radio traffic, any radio communications about his tyres starting to go off, or of course Lewis will be saving his tyres because these tyres need to go to the end of the Grand Prix, but he will be doing that by himself. So the gap has stabilised now at a solid, what is it, 2.5 seconds?
2.2 seconds
but
now.
what was it after the stops? It was 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's come down quite significantly, but now just by a tenth or 2/10 on the last lap. Okay. Rosberg gets Martin, doesn't he, to within about 2 seconds, 1.6 sometimes. And then Hamilton just extends that advantage again. That's kind of been the theme of the race so far.
Okay, Max, box this lap, box.
Finally, Max Verstappen can come in then and make his first pit stop in Formula One. He's had those medium compound tyres since the start of this race. I'll tell you what, he's going to have a nice fresh set now of soft tyres, a much lighter car to go out and see if he can get some overtaking done. When he comes out onto the racetrack, he's going to be in, what, 8th place, Verstappen, ahead of Nico Hülkenberg. It could be tight, as Hülkenberg's actually coming down the pit lane now. In fact, actually, he's got to overtake the Force India driver to move back up into that 8th place. You can see him now making his way towards the first turn. Nice set of soft tyres to go to the checkered flag.
So Raikkonen's got to make up 34 seconds in 26 laps, basically. He's got to make another pit stop yet if he's going to fight Massa for what is pretty certain looking 4th place now, not third. Vettel looking pretty comfortable there. And interestingly, I mean, I think this is one of the big stories of the afternoon, is just how competitive that Ferrari is. Seems like he's got good fuel consumption as well, because you know, Vettel is very much keeping the two Mercedes at least, not quite in sight, but within 16 seconds, the pair of them.
What they've done as well, Martin, the pit stop strategies work really well. Certainly for Sebastian Vettel, leapfrogging over.
I have smoke in the car.
Oh dear. Max Verstappen with problems. We'll get back to talking about Ferrari in a minute, but smoke in the car, and
hopefully that'll clear. He's just made a pit stop, so hopefully there was some oil or something, but let's see how much smoke he's talking about. Oh dear. No, that's a motor engine problem.
4 power units allowed for the season. There's something just come out of the back of Max Verstappen's power unit here today, and oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Verstappen running in the points on debut in Formula One is going to end this race parked up by the side of the pit lane entrance, and his dad does not want to watch any more. Jos Verstappen just walks away, and I'm sure he is as distraught as his son is after what had been a thoroughly encouraging start to Formula One comes to a crushing blow and a grinding halt because of a problem with his power unit.
It's out of the firing line there. I don't really see the need where that is for any kind of virtual safety car or actual safety car.
What is clear, we talk about Ferrari have made gains on their engine and are more competitive this year, but it just seems, doesn't it, Martin, that Renault and their power units are kind of having to go back to square one, back to the drawing board a little bit, because still problems with reliability, with drivability and overall power.
Absolutely. I think there was a little puff of smoke as he came out of the pits through turn 1 on that Toro Rosso. Quite often happens just after you've pitted. You get a heat soak, or you get a, you know, ticking over in the pits. Boom.
Live on the Red Bull pit wall, watching another Renault-powered car retire from the race, the Red Bull boss, Christian Horner. Issues with Renault, both for you and your sister team this weekend, Christian.
Yeah, no, it's been a difficult weekend for Renault. Obviously, we've got reliability and drivability issues, so yeah, just frustrating, really.
And are you and Toro Rosso both running the same software, the same hardware? It's exactly the same kit you're running?
Yeah, no, very much so.
It's not been the greatest weekend for Formula One, Christian. Are you concerned about that?
Yeah, no, it's been a tricky weekend, really, isn't it? 13 cars out there isn't great. Maybe we could do with one of those virtual safety cars, bunch things up again, and see what the last few laps can do.
And what can you do with Daniel Ricciardo? Is seventh, you know, your goal for this afternoon? Is that the best you think?
I think, to be honest with you, it probably is. You know, NASA with that Ferrari engine, it looks like it's made a good improvement this year. You can see that in the Ferraris and the Saubers has made a good step forward. So, yeah, we might be able to close the gap down to him, but overtaking is going to need something a bit special.
And is your worry that it compounds and gets worse for your team when we get to Malaysia and those two long straights, where you might be sitting ducks?
Yeah, thanks for that.
Sorry.
No, hopefully it can. It'll get better at that type of circuit. We've got to use the time between this race and Malaysia. No, Renault need to run hard on their dyno and try and sort some of these issues out.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks for joining us. Best of luck for the rest of this race. Ricciardo running in 7th, then behind Felipe Nasser. Kimi Raikkonen 5th and closing all the time on Felipe Massa, but Raikkonen has got to stop again. Sebastian Vettel runs 3rd after jumping Massa in the pit stops. Rosberg behind his teammate Lewis Hamilton, 1.7 seconds the difference now between the two Mercedes drivers, and whilst they try and shout encouraging words to Max Verstappen, I'm sure he's hearing none of it.
It looked like he was walking down the pit lane, didn't it? But it's not. That's the Aussie V8 pit lane. He was heading down there.
Now we're watching Carlos Sainz behind Sergio Perez. Along the straight we go. DRS for Carlos Sainz. Thinks about a little move, the Spaniard, and just tucks in behind the Force India, hoping to get a good exit now out of turn 2 and continue on this battle as Rosberg sets another fastest lap of the race. Gap down to 1.5 seconds at the top. 1 minute 31.3 for Rosberg on that previous lap, and he's matched Lewis Hamilton through the first sector as Sainz still has to sit behind Perez.
Relatively speaking, Rosberg seemed happy, hasn't he, on these medium compound tyres. Hamilton responds with personal bests, but Rosberg seems at the moment as if he's got an ounce more when he needs to.
Did you think after a slow burner we might be in for a red-hot finish here, the way that Rosberg is just gaining bit by bit by bit?
I hope so.
On Hamilton. He's just lost 1/10 to Hamilton through the middle sector as I posed that question. Ted, to you.
Yeah, Hamilton's struggling on these tyres. I mean, they do work better in these cooler temperatures as the afternoon's wearing on now, Melbourne, isn't it? Don't they? These medium compound tyres. But I don't know, you can tell out of your commentary box, the sun's out, but it's very blowy around here. The wind has really picked up over the last few days.
Yeah, actually, I can tell. Sainz behind Perez still, only because the tabards worn by the marshals in front of us are just blowing around in the wind. I can't actually see the flags from where we are at ground level.
Hamilton a little bit quicker that time, but actually Rosberg did say as the temperatures fall, he thinks that plays as we go into late afternoon here, that it plays into his hands a little bit yesterday.
We started an hour early here at Albert Park this year. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but very much approaching the evening time.
So it's important to save some fuel, Nico, now to attack at the end of the race.
So maybe a lot of those gains that we've seen from Rosberg in the last few laps have been because he's using up a bit more fuel than his teammate. He's lost 0.3 to Hamilton in the first sector of this latest lap. We're watching the battle between Perez and Sainz. And Hamilton just starting to extend his advantage as Rosberg lifts and coasts, gets a little bleep in his ear to be told when he needs to lift off on the straights and save a bit of fuel.
We've always saved fuel in F1. You never start the race with any more fuel on board than you need, usually a bit less in case of safety cars, and you go into a bit of fuel management. Every 5 kilos costs you 1/4 second per lap, so 0.2.
So nearly a kilo used more by Rosberg than Hamilton at the moment.
Yeah, Lewis was better all last year as well, wasn't he? On the fuel.
Certainly was.
Okay, Daniel, you are faster than Nazar. Let's have him.
Well, he's a second behind him at the end of the last lap. He's gained 2/10 on this lap through the first sector, and he's got a packed hill of local fans, many of whom sporting the "Come on Dan" signs to try and roar him on to get past the Sauber here. I don't know if you noticed, even that F-18 pilot had "Come on Dan" on his visor as well, as he blasted rather noisily just above the paddock and the grandstands.
There's a fairly solid answer from Lewis Hamilton, a 1:31.1 new fastest lap.
Yeah, 2 seconds the advantage now. If you've got to save fuel, I'm just going to put the fastest lap of the race. We have the last third of this race to go. NASA just trying to get on the power a little bit. It's a bit squirmy coming out of the final corner, and knows that Daniel Ricciardo is hunting him down now and has got to within 8/10, very much in DRS territory on that last lap.
The teams are under this new radio protocol where they don't like trying to tell the driver how to drive the cars. They're allowed to tell him to save fuel, they're just not allowed to tell him how or what else anybody else is doing.
Feels like it's going to be difficult to get to the end of the race with this set.
With this set of tyres.
Yeah.
So
he's 18 seconds ahead of Vettel.
Interesting that. Given that he came in one lap after Lewis Hamilton, of course. Why would he be suffering more excessive tyre wear than his teammate? What's he doing that's different out there, I wonder? Perez pits for Force India, who have both of their cars running, one of whom is in the points. Nico Hülkenberg currently running 8th.
Front right, problem with the front right.
Is that the third pit stop now this afternoon, where teams have had problems either removing or getting tyres back on again? Is that just rust, I wonder? After the winter break, and the guys having to do the pit stops now for the first time under the pressured conditions. Either way, Perez back out into the race now, down into 12th and running last of those on the racetrack. Ted.
If Rosberg does want to, I don't know, for a laugh do a two-stop, or for whatever reason, he's got to do it right now, because if he doesn't, he'll run out of laps to the end, to have any chance of catching Hamilton. I don't think he's going to. No, I don't really know what that message was about.
I'd suggest, Ted, he'd do it in about 2 laps' time to guarantee he gets out ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who's, 20 seconds behind him. They want to build a little buffer, but you're right, he's got to do it soon, isn't he?
Yeah, because clearly, he'll be quicker than Lewis. I mean, on a new soft tyre versus a new medium tyre is worth 1.1 seconds per lap. So a new soft versus getting slightly past it medium tyre, which is what Hamilton will be on, will be worth what? 1.5 seconds per lap, a bit more?
Yeah. Trouble is, the faster you go, the more fuel you might use as well. So that might be a bit problematic if he is that near the limit. Now, Ricciardo really throwing that Red Bull out of the right-hander at turn 12 as Kimi Räikkönen is in the pits for his second and final pit stop. On-go medium tyres for Kimi Räikkönen, because he has to run those. His first 2 stints were on the soft compound tyre. He comes out onto the racetrack right now. Sergio Perez blasting down the pit straight. He will tuck in behind him. Perez, who has been lapped, along with Button and Sainz and Ericsson as well.
I don't see Raikkonen catching Massa from there.
No, it's a big ask on the medium tyres. And what's happened? Going very, very slowly indeed as Nasser and Ricciardo go through, and Kimi Räikkönen, well, he's definitely not going to catch Felipe Massa now, because he's pulling over to the side of the track. Power's off, race is done, and oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Kimi Räikkönen out of the Australian Grand Prix. And I wonder, is that engine problem, or is that something on the rear left of the car, mechanical, or what? Either way, it's terminal.
Front brakes smoking a bit, unsurprisingly, where they're getting some heat soak. Just need to make sure they don't catch fire. That's why they put those little leaf blower motors on them when they come in. But he didn't go and look at the back of the car or anything to see, which would have suggested that left rear still didn't go on properly. Straight on the scooter, that was quick.
So, once again, we saw Verstappen, didn't we? Come out of the pits, Martin, and park up after his pit stop, and now Kimi Räikkönen has done the same thing. And this is coming into the pits for his stop.
Yeah, you're on the rev limiter a lot as well, bouncing down, so the left rear is still a bit of a drama. No, it's not on properly. So it is a Kimi didn't even bother looking at it, did he? But so left rear is not on.
And it was the left rear that they had the problem with, of course, earlier.
Yeah.
It cost him time at the first pit stop. Now,
and to be fair, the guys on that corner didn't put their hand in the air
until it was too late.
Yeah, well, nobody said, let's go, it's time to go.
No.
So it looks like it, front jackman and lollipop, front jackman drops the car.
That's an unsafe release then, yes?
Yes.
So an unsafe release in 2015 is an automatic 10-second stop-and-go penalty for the relevant driver. Additional penalties can be imposed at the steward's discretion. So you get an automatic stop-and-go, but if the driver then carries on and makes it onto the racetrack, then that could carry on to the next race.
You're right, good point.
So for Kimi Räikkönen, what has been a bad start to the season might get even worse in Malaysia with a big grid penalty or a stop-and-go penalty through the race, and I'm sure the stewards will be looking at that.
Yes, I'm surprised the team didn't tell him to stop immediately, but now you're right, the new penalty is if they even leave their pit box area by a metre or two to try to stop them when a wheel's not on properly, because the wheels start flying around and bouncing around with an awful lot of people around.
So the team telling Kimi Räikkönen over the team radio to stop the car. He did, but it was an unsafe release, and they've apologised to him for what happened. And I was just about to say Jenson Button going up into the points as a result of it, but not for long, because Sergio Perez on fresher tyres has just made his way past. So Button back down into 11th place, Perez in 10th. One more retiree here, and Button, if he can make it to the checkered flag, will pick up a point for McLaren today. But as it stands at the moment, he's running outside of the points, and he's the only one who is. And we are on for quite a small field, coming past the checkered flag at the end of this race.
1.6 seconds then between Hamilton and Rosberg. They're now 23 clear between them of the chasing Vettel.
And this is what happened with Perez and with Button. And slightly easier than when they when Perez tried to make a move at that corner earlier in the race, and took out a little bit of damage to himself and possibly to Jenson Button's car as well. Look how Rosberg now has closed the gap a touch on Lewis Hamilton. I wonder if it's because Hamilton had to lap Hülkenberg first. Has Rosberg lost time as well? As the stewards confirm, they will investigate Kimi Räikkönen and Ferrari for an unsafe release after this race. The gap was 1.6 seconds at the end of the last lap between Hamilton and Rosberg, but he's lost quite a bit, Rosberg, on this particular lap.
Was Ericsson going through there? It's the one where Michael Schumacher tipped the Ferrari over, do you remember? Stuck it on its roof. So that's going to be a big problem now for vibration from that left front. And of course, then every time you lock it up, it most wants to stop in that place.
Driving with a big 50-pence piece on the tyre.
Box now, box this lap.
Well, he's got a gap, hasn't he, of 13.8 seconds, of 22 seconds to Carlos Sainz behind him as Marcus Ericsson. So you're better off trying to fit a new set of tyres and carry on for the next 13 laps.
He didn't attack the speed line, he lost himself a few seconds there.
Sainz is now making his way around the final corner, so he might just lose a place here. Marcus Ericsson, as Felipe Massa in 4th place at the moment goes through. Is he closing down on Sebastian Vettel at all? By about 3/10 on the previous lap. Vettel on for a podium finish on his Ferrari debut. His teammate Kimi Raikkonen, who won, of course, here on his Ferrari debut, already out of the race. And there is Raikkonen's car, stranded by the side of the track. Ted, down to you. Come in, Ted Kravitz.
Hello, David. Shall we do a quick button update?
Yes. Hang on.
Okay, this pace is very good. Vettel ahead is fuel saving. We are currently quicker than Vettel. This is great. Just keep this up, Felipe.
And it's just one place off points, isn't it? So Perez, after all the problems he's had, is 10th with Raikkonen going out. I believe I'm right in saying,
yes,
for my little lap chart down here. And then Jenson Button. So, oh dear, there's Arriva Bene now wanting to know the details. You know what he's like with sacking people. Everyone should be a bit worried down there. I wonder if there was a sort of machined hub on Raikkonen's car, because obviously it probably wasn't a wheel gun problem, because that seemed to undo and do up Sebastian Vettel's left rear perfectly well. So maybe with these captive wheel nuts it kind of machined the hub. There's Hulkenberg just in front of me going out for his final stint.
They're using these blown hubs a lot as well now, aren't they, to control the airflow through there.
Just on the front there.
Yeah. But I think that's why we've seen like the Force India struggling to get those front wheels on, possibly.
Yeah, very much so.
Felipe Massa is going to get a little DRS boost, I think, here, because Hulkenberg, as Ted mentioned, was coming out and keeps out of the way, so Massa doesn't lose too much time. And you can see the fuel usage, not a lot in it, half a kilo in Felipe Massa's favour that he's got extra to use that Sebastian Vettel has used up so far. We've got 11 still running here in Melbourne. And for those who like this sort of thing, 2008. The only time Lewis Hamilton, of course, has won here in Albert Park. Only 7 cars took the checkered flag that day, and one of them, Rubens Barrichello, I think it was actually disqualified from the race itself. So it's not the least amount of finishers yet that we're going to have here in Albert Park. The trouble is, Martin, there wasn't as many cars as we'd have hoped for actually starting the race.
Just a bizarre set of circumstances, wasn't it, with Bottas on his back and cars blowing up and cars never getting running at all in the weekend. Two breaking down on going to the grid.
Yep. So to recap, we lost Marion Stevens because their car couldn't turn a wheel. We lost Magnussen and Kvyat with mechanical problems on the way to the grid. We lost Maldonado at the second corner. We lost Grosjean by the end of the first lap. We lost Verstappen, Max Verstappen, running in the points after his pit stop. We lost Kimi Raikkonen through an unsafe release, it looks like, just a few laps ago. And Jenson Button kicking up the dirt, but the only one of the 11 cars left on the track running outside of the points at the moment.
Pretty much sums up McLaren's last few months, doesn't it?
Double podium winners, of course, here last year. Jenson Button 3rd, Kevin Magnussen 2nd. And at the moment, running outside of the points, but you never know what might happen. It's been quite a crazy day here in Melbourne today.
Just being reminded that in 2002, when Mark Webber got 5th for Minardi, there were 6 or 7 finishers. So it's not without precedent. Jenson made a bit of a mess of the racetrack there, didn't he? I don't know what he must have been looking down or something, because he just wandered across onto the grass.
And they've got these nice big displays on their steering wheels these days. Plenty more to look at for the drivers, although Force India sticking with the old steering wheel. It's lighter, the old steering wheel, than the new one, so they wanted to save on a little bit of weight and go for the lighter option instead. And now Nico Rosberg, Ted's car's a little bit lighter on fuel. I wonder if he can use up a little bit more, because he's just put another fastest lap of the race in, and he's got that gap to Lewis Hamilton, under 2 seconds now.
Yeah, well, all seems calm on the Mercedes pit wall. Paddy Lowe has just had something to eat and has just dusting some crumbs off his desk. And so
was it tipping time down at Mercedes, is it?
I suppose so, yeah. Let's see what happens. But as you say, yeah, the gap now back down to 1.8, 1.9 seconds, having sort of fluctuated up to 2.5. So that's what's going on here, and just a thought on McLaren, I do feel sorry for Kevin Magnussen. You know, deputised, dumped over the winter, a late deputy for Fernando Alonso, comes here, has a big crash. The mechanics have to rebuild his car, and then comes all this way, doesn't even get to race, and then that's probably it. Alonso, we all hope, is going to come back for Malaysia, and seems to be set to come back from Malaysia. So, I don't know. If I was Kevin Magnussen, I'd probably go out tonight and get really drunk.
Well, don't try this at home, everybody. That's just Ted Kravitz's advice.
Well, you know, what has he got? What has he got? I mean, you know, that's probably it for his Grand Prix season, isn't it? So, what's he got to lose? What's that man got to lose as well? I would imagine what he's going to do tonight.
His temper,
I'm not saying anything.
His temper, that's what Kimi Räikkönen's got to lose at the moment.
Just about what Kimi's going to do tonight.
Yeah, that man that we just saw disappearing into the Ferrari garage.
Ericsson is 8 seconds ahead of you. Sainz is 10 seconds ahead of him. Ericsson will catch Sainz, but we need to be faster to catch Sainz. He is on very used medium.
Tim Wright, the new race engineer for Sergio Perez, who is 8.8 seconds behind Marcus Ericsson, who is pretty much the same gap, or was the same gap at the end of the last lap, to Carlos Sainz in front of him, and that 8-second gap has gone down to 6.4 seconds. So Force India very much on the fact that the Sauber is going to catch the Toro Rosso very swiftly.
The Sauber of NASA is faster than the Red Bulls. The Ferrari has leapfrogged the customer Mercedes, I reckon, and definitely the Renault.
Yeah, I think that's a very good summary on this one, Martin Brundle. Kimi Räikkönen, just wanted to know what's happened there. I rather fear a penalty coming Kimi's way in Malaysia for that unsafe release as well. Hamilton sets a new fastest lap of the race. Now 2 seconds, the gap between himself and Rosberg. We're on lap 50 of 58 here in Albert Park. Sun's starting to go down, but maybe the brightness starting to rise on Lewis Hamilton's championship winning season as well. Starting off in very fine fashion here.
Yeah, the downshifts are a big problem.
Downshifts.
Well, he's just got to try and keep going, hasn't he? One more car retires from this race. Jenson Button picks up a point. He's just got to try and keep going.
I know, but I didn't expect to be having that kind of thought process on a McLaren Honda. Never dreamed it.
Well, the only consolation will be, if Button can finish 11th, Martin, at least he'll finish 2 places higher than the last time he sat in a Honda-powered car. In Brazil, he came 13th, and then it caught fire in the pit lane, which I think was a fitting tribute to that car that season.
Yes. There's the rip-off. Always have to make sure they don't go in your airbox, your own airbox. So you make sure that you push them out the side.
So where are the battles here? Felipe Massa is now 2.5 seconds behind Sebastian Vettel, and he's starting to catch him just a little bit. There's still time to try and nick that podium place that's kind of been taken away from Williams by Vettel staying out on the track just 2 or 3 laps longer in the pit stop. Massa stuck behind the slower Daniel Ricciardo, couldn't respond with the lap times he needed, and Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari just stepped in. A very clever piece of strategy. The battle at the top seems to be going very much Lewis Hamilton's way as he pulls out another 4/10 on his teammates.
So an update, Ricciardo behind 5 seconds, he's struggling with the tyres. We need a small amount of brake saving.
And he's got that 5.5 second gap in hand, Felipe Nasser. He's nearly 40 seconds behind the other Felipe in 4th place at the moment, just running his own race.
So you can go rear bias on your brakes. They tend to run about 56% of their braking energy goes to the front. And the balance, of course, to the rear, so you can tweak it to the rear and maybe just lift off a bit earlier and brake later and less, let the aerodynamics slow the car down. Ericsson looks almost certain to catch Sainz. And
about a second a lap at the moment, isn't it, Martin?
Yeah. Yeah, Sainz has just done a personal best, but Ericsson still, well, Sauber's weekend's turned around a treat, hasn't it?
Just a bit. And we've got 2 rookies on potentially scoring points, of course, in their first race. The rookie on the podium this time last year, Kevin Magnussen, but 2 rookies starting their debut, as I'm sure they mean to continue. Hamilton on his way and increasing his advantage over Nico Rosberg in the last couple of laps. Rosberg just responds now, closes that gap to 2.1 seconds. It's been yo-yoing up and down, but never really getting close enough for Rosberg's liking. Hamilton, you feel, just has had everything under control this afternoon.
Confusing, isn't it? I mean, look at Ricciardo there.
Just look at Sainz there for 2 seconds, Martin. That shows you how much he's struggling on those tyres coming through turn 13.
Yeah, so when I said Ricciardo there, I'm actually looking at the computer screen. Sorry, but yeah, you know, had such an incredible result here last year before it was taken away from him. He's now 80 seconds behind the leaders. I really thought people like Red Bull and that would the law of diminishing returns would close the gap down to Mercedes, and if anything, they've all lost something, haven't they?
What was Adrian Newey saying? That we want to engage Renault in dialogue, and we want to work more closely together, but it's just not happening at the moment. Something needs to change around. They've lost people. They've lost their star man in Sebastian Vettel. 4 world championships. And other guys have gone as well. And people will be asking tonight, are the glory days of Red Bull, behind them now? Long way to go before we know the answer, I'm sure. But
yeah, it's a long season ahead.
Right. 1.5 seconds, the difference between Hamilton and Rosberg. We're watching Marcus Ericsson at the moment, but the 2 Mercedes have just crossed the line, and the reason that prompted our attention is that 0.6 of a second Rosberg has taken out of Hamilton's advantage on that last lap. Now, that could have been in part due to Rosberg lapping Jenson Button again and getting maybe a bit of DRS assistance, but that's just pure guesswork considering where Rosberg and Button are on the track together.
I suspect Lewis is on the phone to Farrell or somebody. He's not got much else to do, has he?
How's that conversation go? Farrell, I'm happy. Ron Walker, the chairman of the Australian Grand Prix Corporation, repeating his message that he's going to miss Bernie. A long-time association and friendship between the 2 gentlemen. Another 5 years of the Grand Prix here in Melbourne. The story is that Sydney would quite like to have a street race, but for the time being it's hands off our Grand Prix. I think the message coming from the state of Victoria.
How is that fuel?
So Nico, fuel level plus, can't give information.
Just about to say, not quite sure he's allowed to be told that these days.
He's certainly allowed to ask. And fuel level plus. Now, how would you interpret that? Plus, that he's overused his fuel, or that he's in a... I would interpret that he's in a positive situation.
Yeah.
And that fuel is not a problem. And there is the answer. There's almost nothing between them.
Absolutely. He's just used a touch more, but not an awful lot more. As Marcus Ericsson has gained on Carlos Sainz, lap by lap by lap, and then quite a bit on this current lap. And this is where we saw on the last lap, Martin, Carlos Sainz really struggling to get out of the corner, almost driving like his father on some sort of gravel stage.
I would think with points in the offing here for Toro Rosso, I would think they'd be telling Sainz not to give it away, but don't fight too hard on this one. Yeah. Because the Sau was a lot faster.
Don't undo all the good work for the sake of a couple more points. There'll be other days. We'll see how that defence is going to go now, because Ericsson with a decent exit out of the second corner and onwards now down towards turn 3, right on Carlos Sainz's tail, just a little bit too far back to make a move down the inside, as Lewis Hamilton with 1/10 of a second through the first sector in his favour continues to maintain that 2.5 advantage over Nico Rosberg. Onwards down to another braking zone. There's about 4 heavy braking zones out of the 8 in total on this circuit, and I wonder now, is this opportunity for Marcus Ericsson going to come up, not here at turn 9 and 10, but the next corners, turn 11 and 12. Can he slip down the inside or maybe try around the outside there as we watch from the helicopter and see that Sauber getting ever closer but not quite close enough. 1.6 seconds the gap between Hamilton and Rosberg at the end of lap 54.
Ericsson needs to be thinking clearly where he's going to deploy his electrical energy. Because he's got a chance here to take this place in the closing stages. Keep it neat and tidy in the turbulent air, and then down to turn 1 and down to turn 3. Needs to be keeping all his juice.
Oh, and his concentration and his wits about him, I would have suggested as well. And that exit there cost him the chance, didn't it?
Yeah.
He'd have been so much closer, maybe going for it at the end of the straight, but he's going to have to slip back and sit back behind Carlos Sainz for a little while longer.
Neat and tidy it was not. I'm driving one of these next month. Really looking forward to that, of course, India.
Can we all come along and watch?
Yeah, not one of these Saubers, one of these Formula 1 cars,
yeah.
And it will be a Force India.
So 1.6 seconds at the end of lap 54, and Hamilton going slightly faster, albeit by a tenth on this current lap as well. Rosberg just in the final sector keeps that gap at 1.6 seconds. He's tantalisingly within reach, is Lewis Hamilton, but he just can't find a way to get closer and get into DRS range. Can Rosberg, if he's going to make a move, he's going to have to start to do it now, or he's going to run out of time.
I sense, and I hope I'm wrong, that with the aero revisions and things they've been doing with the nose and what have you, to try and make them slightly less ugly and a bit better at crashing, it's harder. Oh, there he goes.
Ericsson down the inside. Carlos Sainz sees him coming and doesn't put up too much of a defence and realises that it would have been quite futile to try and do that. And Ericsson up into 8th place. His teammate Nasser running in 5th place. These drivers that at one stage this week might have thought that either of them wouldn't be running here in Australia are currently 5th and 8th. It's a fabulous story on the track for a Sauber team under siege throughout the week here in Melbourne.
Yeah, I was starting to say, I sense...
Well done, buddy. Push.
Push?
Not too much to push towards, has he? He's got Hulkenberg 16 seconds up the road. Yeah, I sense, when I can finally get this out and say it, that following another car seems a little more difficult this year than even before. We saw it early on, didn't we, with Vettel, I thought was really struggling behind the Williams.
Well, look how his pace totally changed the minute Massa pitted.
That is bad news, if that's the case.
We'll get a better idea in Malaysia.
Yeah.
In a proper Grand Prix track, if you'll pardon that expression, not a temporary track here, but you could have a point there, Martin. 2 seconds the gap out in front. We're on lap 57. And the battles just one by one ebbing away here. Jenson Button managing to keep that Honda-powered McLaren on the track. Looks like he's going to miss out on the points today. Williams missed out on one driver, but their other is currently running in 4th, and this is the man who was led pretty much from start to finish, except during the pit stops where he made way to his teammate while he came in and changed his tyres.
He's been on the radio saying his dash is telling him he's negative on fuel, and they've told him to ignore his dash.
I assume that's allowed then if it's your fuel.
Yeah.
And you're talking about yourself, the new stringent rules on driver aids and driver coaching from the pit lane. The key sentence in the sporting regs is the driver must drive the car alone and unaided.
That's a catch-all clause if there ever was one. That's been pulled out and used a few times.
So final lap then. Lewis Hamilton starts. 3 miles to go before he can claim another victory here in Albert Park to add to his win from pole here in 2008. The man who has converted his last 6 poles into race wins is going to make that 7 on the trot, barring anything unforeseen in the next few moments. This is what he would have wanted, Martin, to start this defence in style. And in qualifying it was, and this afternoon it's been pretty stylish and untoward as well.
Rosberg's kept him in sight clearly. They've been using the full envelope of performance because they were both a bit marginal on fuel. They've been coasting around, they're not playing games. And once again, Hamilton in race conditions just somewhere has an edge, doesn't he?
Qualifying yesterday as well. Got away from the line, used that pole absolutely brilliantly, put distance between himself and his teammate, and he's kept Nico, well, Nico's kept him honest, but he's pretty much kept him at arm's length, you would say. For Mercedes, it's an absolute dream start to their Constructors' title defence. 11 1-2 finishes in 2014. Well, they're going to start with a 1-2 in 2015 as well. No British driver has ever successfully defended his title, but Hamilton has started out in 2015 in perfect style, and from pole to checkered flag, it's Lewis Hamilton that wins the Australian Grand Prix. It's his teammate Nico Rosberg that follows him behind, and Lewis Hamilton, who finished off last season with victory in Abu Dhabi, has started this season with victory here in Australia. It is smiles, and we're becoming used to seeing these smiles and hugs from Niki Lauda in the Mercedes garage. But there'll be big smiles too at Ferrari. And is this the start of a new Ferrari, a reborn Ferrari, a prancing horse dancing with increased vigour, as Sebastian Vettel on his debut for the Scuderia takes third place away from Felipe Massa from Williams. And that will do very nicely indeed, I'm sure, for the new man at Maranello, both in the car and out. Felipe Massa, still out on the racetrack, will come home to take 5th place in a few moments' time, and Sauber will very much celebrate those precious points that he and his teammate Marcus Ericsson will bring home today. Daniel Ricciardo limping home for 6th place for Red Bull ahead of Nico Hülkenberg.
Nice work, Lewis. Beautifully managed. Excellent job, real solid race there. Great stuff.
Nico Hülkenberg in 7th, Ericsson in 8th, Carlos Sainz 9th, and Sergio Perez in 10th. Here's Felipe Massa on his debut in Formula One for a team that didn't score a point last season, taking 5th place and 10 points on his debut this year. What a change around in fortunes for that team this week.
Yes, be free. Well done, mate. Well done. Good job.
Ragazzi, forza Ferrari.
Forza Ferrari, team he wanted to go to, and he's on the podium for them, Martin, in his first race.
Yeah, it's been pretty close between him and Raikkonen, and then in turn 1, extremely close, wasn't it? And I don't think Kimi will be too impressed with that little shove he got, but I'm not sure that Vettel could have done too much about it.
Well done, guys. Great job, great job.
Well done to you.
As the cars make their way back to the pits, I can tell you the fans in front of us already streaming onto the circuit here for the podium celebrations, and he's going to be doused in champagne once again. Lewis Hamilton winning by 1.3 seconds from his teammate in the end. That's about as close as Rosberg got, really, for the entire race. Vettel a distant 3rd, but he won't mind that. It's the fact that Ferrari beat Williams today. That's the battle they're in at the moment. Jenson Button, shame for him, 2 laps down. Plenty of positives for McLaren. He got to the checkered flag, but he missed out on the points by just the 1 place. Force India will be highly delighted as well, Martin, that they got both cars home in the points after their difficult winter. And you have to feel sorry for Kimi Raikkonen for the unsafe release, for Max Verstappen, nothing he could do on his debut as well. He was the rookie that didn't score points on his debut today. Hamilton then into the #1 spot in Parc Ferme. Let's hear from Niki Lauda. He's with Ted.
Nicky, well done. You've just said to the guys, absolutely perfect.
Yeah, when you look at the others racing, our pit stop, perfect, everything, nothing wrong at all, and you can't do a better job.
What was the difference between the 2 drivers today, do you think?
Lewis was better, no question. Right from the beginning, he controlled everything. Nico tried hard, but he couldn't beat him. This is racing, and this is the way it is.
They're a long way back, but it looks like Ferrari are your biggest chasers now.
Yeah, Ferrari's coming, which I think is good. They're 30 seconds behind. I watched this very carefully. But nevertheless, for Mercedes, an outstanding result, for Lewis especially. Winning the championship, starting the new season like this is not bad.
Thanks, Nicky. Well done.
Niki Lauda was deep in conversation with Maurizio Arrivabene the other night. I wonder if they were talking about the Mercedes-Ferrari battle to come this season. He hasn't got Roscoe here to stroke, so he might as well stroke the car instead.
Cars looks immaculately clean. He's not been following too many people today, has he?
Yeah, they've all had to follow him. These are the moments that everyone at Brixworth, where they make the engines, at Brackley, where they build and design the cars, live for. A winning feeling. And it's not gone away, and their advantage seems to have increased over the winter months.
Yes, it does. Could do without that.
Sebastian Vettel, a long time, he was the man that Hamilton will be going up to say congratulations, but roles reversed.
Yeah, thank you.
At this moment in time. A penny for Nico Rosberg's thoughts.
Along the lines of not again.
Started well this weekend and rather overtaken by his teammate. Felipe Nasser, Marcus Ericsson, I'm sure would have had a chat at some stage this weekend, Martin, saying, right, which one of us isn't going to drive? Well, in the end, they both did, and they both scored points.
Yeah, I believe, I mean, the team have got to now do a deal with Guido van der Garde, so I believe they're going to pay quite a lot of money back. And some, is my understanding, but a healthy haul of points, of which they didn't score any last year, will more than make up for that.
So, first point since 2013 then for Sauber, and the best result for a Sauber rookie on his debut. He beats Kimi Räikkönen, 6th place for the team in Melbourne in 2001. For Daniel Ricciardo, disappointment. He started 6th and finished 6th. No podium celebrations for him. And I said the crowd were making their way onto the track, and boy, are they making their way onto the track. There could be some very loud cheers when we see the drivers in a few moments.
Record for the fewest classified finishes in F1, 4 back in 1966, although 3 only actually crossed the line. In Monaco, 96. But of course more cars were classified finishers.
Yeah.
We've got 11 today.
It wasn't so much we've had races, you've been in them, Martin, where we've had a little amount of finishes. It's the ones that started, it's the little amount, or
yes,
the small amount of starters that would concern me.
Nasser did well not to get lapped as well. It was a pretty close call, mind you.
Certainly was. So, Sebastian Vettel then, on debut for Ferrari, comes out onto a podium in Formula One for the, 67th time. Nico Rosberg has to contend with 2nd place once more. And for Lewis Hamilton, it's his 34th win in his career, and look how pumped he is. Victory for the defending champion.
and his 34th career win. The trophy is presented to him by the Honourable Daniel Andrews MP, Premier of Victoria.
Daniel Andrews then with the Sir Jack Brabham Trophy in honour of the three-time world champion who we sadly lost last year. Won today by Lewis Hamilton. Jackie Stewart presenting the Constructors' Trophy.
The trophy is presented by Jackie Stewart, OBE Rolex Ambassador. Congratulations to Mercedes.
The last time Lewis Hamilton stood on the top step of the podium here, he was flanked by a couple of German drivers that day as well. Nico Rosberg, and it was Nick Heidfeld, I think, the other one that day.
That's the Ron whose name appeared on the track a couple of times. Spring back in his step, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's highly delighted with his move from Red Bull to Ferrari, even before today's result. But there's no question who will be the most delighted. What a weekend's work for Mercedes and for Hamilton. It's another 1-2. They can continue their hot streak in Formula One. Smiles and champagne all around.
Seen that one before, have we?
Well, can't take cover behind an open window, Martin. They'll have been drinking the champagne in there, but now wearing it.
Got to make our way through all those people, surely, haven't we? Somehow to get back to the pits.
But we're going to hear from the drivers in a couple of moments as well. And with all due respect to a man who I know goes and does a few interviews on the podium, I'm looking forward to these in a minute. I'm told we are in the presence of Hollywood royalty on the podium for the interviews. Posing for a few photos. And of those three, I'm sure only Nico Rosberg will think, right, what else did I need to do? For the next few moments, though, forget Bernie. It's time for Arnie. Arnold Schwarzenegger with the drivers.
Congratulations.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. How you doing?
Well, it's wonderful to be here in Melbourne, to be in Australia. And I was just asked to conduct the interviews with the winners here. Wow. And let me tell you something I'm so excited about, because just for the last 2 days I was interviewing the most fittest people, the strongest people, the most energetic people at the Arnold's Classic, and now I'm interviewing the fastest people in the world. So, Luis, what does it feel like having won last year's World Championship and now winning the first race again?
Well, it's obviously a real pleasure to be here. We have the greatest fans here today. Thank you so much for coming out. You know, my team did an amazing job today, and it's an incredible feeling, obviously, to continue on from last year, but also to be up here with you, man. I thought you were taller. I thought he was taller on the Terminator.
I'm not wearing my high heels. But so what does it feel like? And then let me just ask you, how much physical training do you have to do to be in that kind of a shape and to go through a race like that?
We all train very hard, and people don't actually realize that we are athletes. We have to train a lot. It's incredibly physical in those cars. So, you know, it's just, I'm very honored to be up here amongst these great drivers, and also with this team doing such an amazing job. So.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations. Congratulations. Now just a question also to you. What does it feel like being second? And do you think that you're going to make up and maybe beat this man this year?
Well, I mean, it's a nice feeling to be second today, because it's an awesome start into the season for us as a team. Absolutely stunning car they've given us. I mean, unbelievable. And no, Lewis has just done a fantastic job this weekend. He drove like a world champion all weekend. So, couldn't quite beat him, but for sure I was trying every single lap all the way to the maximum, and I will do all year. I'll give him a big run for his money and hopefully beat him. And yeah, also thank you very much to the organizers. Really, you've done an amazing job this weekend. I'm sure you all agree. It's been a fantastic weekend for everybody, and also all of you. You've been great and put on a great atmosphere. Thank you.
How much does concentration have to do with it to win this competition, to win this race?
Yeah, a lot of it is in the head, of course. Not only during one race, but during the whole season, to keep your energy, to focus, but also especially during one race. It is very demanding in the head, you know, to not make a single mistake whilst being physically, you know, it's challenging physically too. So it's tough.
Well, you've done a great job. Congratulations, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next race, okay?
Thank you.
Now let's... Hey.
Now do I come up or you come down?
Coming up here. We have enough room.
Yes.
What does it feel like being now with Ferrari?
It feels great. It feels absolutely, it's a very, very big honor. And I'm very happy. Obviously, it's a great start to the season for us. We had a very good winter already. The team has worked phenomenally hard, and we can be very proud. I said to the guys, thank you very much, grazie mille. Noi abbiamo una macchina bella per la qualifica, ma anche per la gara. So we have a great race, not only in qualifying, but also for the race, and it's great to join them, and I'm really proud. There's a lot of work ahead of us, trying to beat these two and beat Mercedes, but I'm sure we will.
How much preparation goes in every day to prepare for a race like this?
It's our job in the end. It's you know, it's not just turning up at the weekends and doing the job, but all week. As Lewis said, you have to be fit, so we have to train, we have to look after each other here and there. I think I can spare pizza, especially this year, but yeah, for sure it's a full-time job.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations. And I know I will be watching you in the next race, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I know that you are going to say now, when it comes to the next race, I'll be back, right? Okay. So let's say it together. I'll be back. All right, give him a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wow. That has set the benchmark pretty high, I would say, for podium interviews this year. Yes, your eyes were not deceiving you. That was Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, conducting the interviews. Brilliant stuff. Great stuff if you're just waking up. It was Mercedes pretty much going through the formalities in that race, totally controlled by Lewis Hamilton. Nico Rosberg in behind, never really threatened, just stayed within 2-3 seconds. A really comfortable 1-2 for the reigning world champions and the individual world champion as well. Now, this is what we've got coming up. Before the Malaysian Grand Prix, back with midweek report, looking back on this race from 8:30 on Wednesday. Friday, we'll have another go in the F1 show from 8, and then March the 27th to the 29th. In a couple of weeks' time, we'll be on the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. Now, Super Sunday, good double-header for you today as well from 12:30. Chelsea, 5 points clear. Manchester City, having lost to Burnley, they've got 2 games in hand. They can extend that 5-point lead if they beat Southampton this afternoon. And following that, Manchester United versus Tottenham from 3:30. I was rather hoping, I mean, after the break, we're going to go from the Terminator to the Totonator. We're hoping to hear from Toto Wolff. It's uncanny. I think they both went to the same Austrian finishing school. Crofty's up there waiting to hear from you as well. Hashtag Ask Crofty. Topics, please.
Whatever you want to talk about, really, Simon. Let's talk about the amount of cars that didn't start. Let's talk about the amount of cars that did finish. Let's discuss Honda. Let's discuss Lewis Hamilton. Let's discuss Formula One in general. Whatever you want to talk about, hashtag Ask Crofty is your Twitter conversation. Let's get going.
Brilliant stuff, Damon. It was, yeah, as we were saying, just going through the motions there was so easy, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, you know, they've done an Arnie, haven't they? They've kind of muscled their way in, and it looked absolutely easy. they made it. It's not easy. They have made a very, very difficult thing look fantastically easy and simple and straightforward. What a solid performance! What an amazing performance by the Mercedes team. And Lewis just completely dominated qualifying, and I think that gave him the right to lead the race. He had Nico completely in control, it does look, you know, tough for everyone else. But great news that Ferrari are up there and looking reasonably strong, if not actually threatening Mercedes.
7 wins in the last 8 races for Lewis Hamilton. That was the 34th of his career. He's taking the opening salvo here at the Australian Grand Prix. Loads of reaction when we come back. What a win for Hamilton.
They say good things come to those who wait. I say good things come to those who cash out. With cash out, you're in control. So relax. And just forget about the final whistle. Because sometimes you just gotta take the money and run. Bet365, the world's favourite online sports betting company.
Say you're a finance guy, a farmer, a researcher. You used to depend on experience, the internet, your gut. Today, you can use IBM Watson Analytics. It can make sense of all kinds of data, uncover hidden correlations and new opportunities, and give recommendations with more confidence on who will buy, what to make, where to plant, which helps you make smarter decisions. There's a new way to work, and it's made with IBM.
They say money makes the world go round. At Nationwide, we think it's people. Maybe that's why we're the best high street savings and mortgage provider of the year. Nationwide, on your side.
Someone tried to kill me 3 days ago. I need to find out why.
You're the only one left. You ever have one of those days when everybody wants to kill you for something?
The Gunman in cinemas March 20.
Very much in the race for a place in the Champions League.
Who's going to be in the top 4?
Top 4.
Who's going to finish top 4? I've got my top 4 dossier here.
Diego Costa! Aguero!
For the top 2, easy.
United third.
We need top 4.
Look at the joy!
I think we've picked United.
Coutinho!
Southampton all in top 4.
A massive goal for Southampton!
Tottenham might sneak in the 4.
He's done it again!
Anything can happen. That's the beauty of the Premier League.
The race for the top 4 hots up today and tomorrow on Sky Sports.